Hi, it's Phil Stone, and this is the Phil Stone Training Series, and in this video we're going to talk about how to recruit. Now before we jump into the video, I want you to know this is really all about recruiting to an in-home opportunity. And I have to say, I've talked to people over the years that have said, I can't recruit, I don't know how to recruit, I don't like to recruit. Meanwhile, they've had plenty of experience bringing people to their PTA group or bringing people to their social group or inviting people to come to parties or actually bringing people to work for them. I mean, there are so many situations where you're recruiting somebody, you may not even be aware of it. I mean, if you and your husband, you and your wife decide you want to go out to dinner, for example, and you decide you want to invite someone, guess what you're doing? You're recruiting those people to come with you. So it's really not this taboo thing, very difficult thing. We're going to go through the basics of how to do it and get the best results when you're talking about your in-home opportunity. Now, people are everywhere, and you would figure, simply because they are, recruiting some of them would be rather simple. It is if you know who to talk to, if you know how to contact those people, and if you know what to say. If you do all that, it's really simple. Now, not only do you want to connect with numbers of people, because this is a numbers game. The more people you talk to, the more successful you'll be. You want to be as effective as you possibly can, and when you do get some of those people, you want to figure out a way to keep them. I mean, that's really important. So this is going to be my top tips to show you exactly how to do that. Now, first of all, I want you to know you have to understand your target market, because if you're trying to recruit people that realistically can't be recruited, you're not going to get great results. Now, I'll tell you, Kim and I learned the secret to this with a company we work with called Lumet. Lumet was a do-it-yourself nail care system. It was really a very good system, and Kim got great results. But from a target market standpoint, first of all, Lumet was only available in the United States. So let's say the circle over here on the right represents the entire population of the United States. Well, primarily women are going to be interested in doing in-home nail care. So we're cutting out the guys. Now, of course, a couple guys might want to do that, but most will not. So we have a smaller target market now. And it gets even smaller, too, because it's got to be women who like nail extensions. Of course, you know, a lot of young girls, a lot of people throughout their life, they're bothered by them. They don't like them, but some people do, so you've got a smaller market. So we've got only USA women and those who like nail extensions and who are willing to do it themselves. What we discovered there, that's a very small group. And when you think about that's the target market, those people are the people that are qualified to actually hear about this and have the potential to get involved. That was such a small market because, quite frankly, most women want to go out and be pampered. It was such a small market we couldn't find success. This is something you might not want to only consider when you're talking about recruiting to your network marketing program or your home business program, but you might want to think about this before you even join a company. Very important to understand your target market. Now also, you're going to have some obstacles. There are always some obstacles. You need to turn them into positives. Think about what barriers there are to entry. What obstacles do you have that you need to overcome? And there could be a large list. Always try to focus on the positive. I mean, for example, if you have a membership fee and an annual renewal, well, there's not much positive about an annual renewal, but the membership fee, if they get a nice little member kit or something like that, that's what you want to focus on. If there's a required starter kit and an upsell pack, this is a tricky thing because a lot of times people will say, oh, the business starter kit, yeah, you get all these things. Your business in a box gets you started right away. You get to sample all the products. That all makes sense to people. It's difficult to know for sure whether you should tell them up front about, now when you get into the thing, we're going to go through training and we're going to try to get you to get more. There's an upsell pack. Lots of companies have them. Some people don't talk about that in the recruiting process, and when the people they recruit find out about it, they feel like they were misled. And some people, if you talk about it up front, it's such a large decision because they're hearing about the starter kit and the upsell pack all at once, and it's really such an obstacle they decide not to get involved. So that's something you're going to have to think through. If there's a mandatory auto ship, of course, that, as far as I'm concerned, is a negative, but you have to spin it to positive. Now, the only way to do that is to say, hey, for convenience, you don't have to worry about it. You're going to want this at your door each and every month. That's why we have this very simple auto ship. Monthly quotas. There's not a lot positive with a monthly quota, but what you can say about it certainly is, and we have this requirement on a monthly basis, and basically what that does is ensures you that all of the people that join your group are going to bring volume to you each and every month. With that auto ship and the quotas that we have, you'll have definite volume right there. You're going to make money on that. Now, if there are structural requirements, you have to make it simple. You know, let's say you need 4 or 5 people. Let's say you need different structures to be able to make it work. You want to let them know about that. You want to stay on the positive side and always talk about the simplicity of it. If you have a situation where there's a BV, a bonus volume or a business volume that's less than 100%, in other words, somebody pays $100 for something, but they're only get commissions on 80 or 70, that's not really much of a plus. But the only way you can spin it positively is talk about the fact that that allows the company to keep the pricing very competitive relative to the overall general marketplace. If you have shipping costs, profit tacked on, you have to tell them about the fact that there's shipping and handling, and that accounts for the fact we have the lowest possible prices we can possibly have on our product, and we ship it to you, we get it to you as inexpensively as possible. Now, if you have transfer spending, meaning that they're going to be buying, for example, shampoo, but it's at a high price, $18 a bottle, rather than the $10 a bottle that they might be accustomed to, or even $5, you have to talk about quality and value there. And if there's monthly fees for the back office, well, hopefully you have enough there that people feel like it's a good value because it's really something special. I mean, quite frankly, all of these things are obstacles, and you're best off not having them. But if you do have them, you have to find a way to deal with it. You just basically put a positive spin on the facts that you have. Now, keep in mind when you do this, whether you're talking about the age of the company, if it's a young company, hey, it's a ground floor opportunity. If it's an established company, hey, it's a proven opportunity. Geographic restrictions, if it's only in the United States, for example, well, if they have plans to go further, that's future opportunities, so you spin it positively. If their growth numbers are small, if they're not growing very quickly, or if it's growing really out of control, whatever that is, you need to put a positive spin on it right now. Very important. But as I was mentioning, it's critical, absolutely critical, that you tell people the truth. You can put a positive spin on things, but you don't want to give them false information. As soon as someone talks to you, you tell them something, they act based on the information you gave them, and they find out that that information is wrong, you got a problem. I mean, you cannot build this business that way. You have to be involved with a do unto others as you would have others do unto you attitude. You do that, you tell people the truth with a positive spin, perfectly fine. If you do it that way, you're going to be able to build a great business, and you're going to be successful recruiting. Now, it's really important, too, to invest the time to learn who you're competing against. And I'm not just talking about directly in what you offer. For example, right now I know there are 3 healthy coffee companies that are out there. You need to know, if you're in one of those, what the other 2 are all about. But not only that, you need to know about all of the other companies. There are so many of them out there, and each and every one of the opportunities are trying to pull people into their opportunity. Well, you're doing the exact same thing, aren't you? So it's important for you to know what competition you have. What is their story? And how does your story stack up? And you've got to make sure that your story is as strong or stronger than the other ones out there. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to grow at the speed you need to. And there's so many companies out there, just really focus on the ones that are at the top. Now, you always want to take control in this entire recruiting process. You want to be in the driver's seat. Now, you may have to have a bunch of hoops for them to jump through in the qualification process. You might have an ad you put on Facebook, and they go from there to your capture page, and they read the capture page, and they wind up signing in there. They go to another page, they hear a little bit more, they sign in again. Doesn't matter if you have a bunch of hoops in that process if you really want to qualify people tightly. But once you get a hold of them, if you really want great conversion numbers, once you get them to the point where you're ready to bring them in, you have to get on the phone and call them. You don't want to hide behind an email and send a link out. I mean, if it's part of the qualification process, fine. But if you're actually ready to get in there and talk to the person and bring them into your program, you need to get as close as you possibly can. Call them. You can hear their tone right on the phone. You can tell what's going on. Or even better, you meet with them face to face. That way, not only do they hear you, they see you. You can see them. You can watch their eyes, watch their body language. You have more control this way than if you just send a link out. Send a link out, you avoid rejection, right? Because if you send a link out, nobody's going to say to you directly where you can hear it, nope, not interested. So you avoid that pain, but you give up so much control. If you want great conversion numbers, call them or meet with them face to face, period. Now, you have to understand your objectives when you get on that call or when you're meeting with them, because certainly you want to have them as a person that joins you building your business, another marketer or member, whatever you're called in your circumstance. You want to have customers too as well. If you sell a product, you want to have people that buy that product, but that is not your objective when you're calling them first. What's your objective? You want them to go and see a company presentation. So you have to be compelling enough to get them to do that, but you don't want to turn your invitation into a presentation where you kind of haphazardly answer questions back and forth and wind up giving everything away, not in an organized fashion, so that basically at the end of your call they decide, oh, I've heard enough about it, don't need to go further. Because that's really what people are looking to do. They're looking to decide quickly, not for me, and go on. They'd rather have that than have something that they have to focus on. So your invitation has to be tight, it has to be compelling, it has to be energized, and it has to get them to watch whatever presentation, whether it's a video or a PowerPoint or a webinar, whatever it might be. And here is the number one biggest thing that people screw up when they do this. You have to schedule a follow-up right when you tell them about the link or the webinar or whatever it might be. It's got to be scheduled at that point in time, because if you don't do it, how do you know when to get back to them? How do they know what kind of a deadline there is? I mean, if you say to somebody, hey, I'd imagine you have a chance to watch the video by Thursday night, and they go, yep. And you say, great, I'll call you on Friday. What's a good time, afternoon or evening? And they say evening. Well, you put that in your calendar, they put that in their calendar. You have a scheduled deadline. I mean, they have an impending deadline that they have to have watched that video by the time you call. And you know right when to make that call. If you don't schedule it, how do you know when to call them? And the other thing, if you can't schedule the thing and you don't know when to call them, you're going to wind up having to do that call by yourself. That's not how you want it done. You have to schedule a follow-up. If you don't do that, you're in trouble. Now, when you do that follow-up, this is really interesting. You have to trust your team. You've gotten it all the way this far, but all of a sudden you're going to need to give up control here. You want to do this on a three-way call. Simple. It's a real easy process. You call your upline expert, get them on the line, then you call your prospect, then you merge the calls. The next thing you do is you introduce your expert. You might say to the person, hi Mary, I just took the liberty of getting my business partner John or Joan or whoever it might be on the line here, and they are just so skilled, they are so professional, they have this kind of background. You build them up so that your prospect realizes that they're on the phone with someone special. Once you get that done, then you allow them, your expert, to take control. Best way to do that is put your phone on mute. And I can tell you, it's really important that you resist the temptation to talk, because you're going to want to say things. You're going to want to interject things. And you can't do that. It doesn't work correctly. The three-way call is a real great thing. It's third-party validation. It's letting your prospect know that not only are you really excited about this, but there are a lot of other people that are very excited as well. So that's one of the primary things. It also shows your prospect that they're going to have the same type of support later on down the road. In other words, they don't have to learn the whole thing before they start getting results. Very important that you do that, the three-way call. And obviously, if you have scheduled this, it's easy to schedule that follow-up with your expert, with your upline expert. Make sure that you always schedule the next step too. For example, at the end of this call, if they sign into your program, well, you have to have the next step, and that would be training. If they don't decide to join you at this particular point, well, maybe you're going to send them some more information. You have to schedule the follow-up every time. This is a step-by-step, follow-up kind of business. Every step has to be scheduled and followed up in the same basic manner. If you do it like that, this will work like a charm. Recruiting is easy. If you don't do it like that, you'll find all kinds of difficulties. I guarantee it. And I know you're watching this, you're thinking, well, I can do part of the things she's saying. Some of them I don't have to do quite this way. I've been doing this for 30 years. It works this way, and I don't know of another way that it works. If you want success in this thing, if you want to sit back at a point, lay back behind your desk and think about all the people you brought in and all the people you can bring in, you follow these procedures, you're going to be able to make it happen for sure. Now, if you want a little bit more information on how to recruit, you can go to philipjstone.com/how-to-recruit/ There's an article there that might help you, plus a whole bunch of other information and training that really is very beneficial. All free. Just register at the site. You get access to the whole thing. I thank you very much for taking the time to look at this. To your success recruiting. Bye-bye.